Dad, is Yummy coming?
No. Not with my father.
Who's Heshy first?
The guy that sits with the guy that sits, I don't know where he's sitting right now. The guy that sits with
Yeah, I think we're putting on chips. That's what I thought. Go ahead.
You have a minion?
Yeah, we have a minion. Yeah.
we easily
Park.
yes.
This is the biggest minion we've had. What happened? Rabbi Moskowitz has reported and shared with us a brief Torah about the Eicha. If anybody wants to listen to it, or it'll be on the screen here for everybody in Shul to watch. After that, then we're going to proceed with laning of Eicha by different people, both here in Shul as well as with the Zoom. And then we're going to have Rabbi Becker give us another Torah, followed by the Kiddush.
I'm so honored to be able to share with everybody tonight some words of chizuk, some words of inspiration, some words of meaning to help us understand what we're about to read in the Eicha and what we're about to take on with this Tisha B'Av. Another year, and unfortunately another Tisha B'Av. I want to begin with a story. It was the third day of the Six-Day War in 1967, and the Israeli soldiers finally burst through the old city of Yerushalayim. They were able to fight their way all the way down to the Kosel HaMaravi. And while unfortunately there were soldiers that died along the way, the remaining soldiers got to the Kosel, place of such unbelievable Kedusha, place that's so important to the legacy of Klal Yisrael. And so many of the soldiers began to kiss the walls of the Kosel. They began crying, began davening, screaming out, recognizing the importance of what was going on. And during that time, there were two soldiers that came from a non-observant kibbutz. They were standing in the back, and they were watching this scene. These soldiers had no religious background whatsoever, and the holiness, the significance of what was going on was totally meaningless to them. They looked around, and they were overwhelmed by this feeling of emptiness. And then, one of the soldiers, out of nowhere, begins to cry. And the other soldier looks at him, and he says, Lama ata bocheh? Why are you crying? And the first soldier looks back at his friend, and he says the following, Ani bocheh al ma she'ani lo bocheh. I cry because I don't know what there is to cry about. You know, very often, when it comes to Tisha B'Av, I feel the same exact way. I feel just like that soldier. It's so hard to relate to the Beis HaMikdash, The holiness, it was 2,000 years ago. And I feel that same feeling. I don't know what there is to cry about. What am I supposed to be relating to? I never experienced it. My father never experienced it. My grandfather never experienced it. So what do you expect from me? And while we weren't there and we didn't experience it, I think this year we can all get a little glimpse into the need to have the Beis HaMikdash back. This year, after all the unrest that's been going on in the world, all the uncertainty, all the anxiety, the sickness, the financial issues that have come up, the unknown, that's been what our lives have been like for the last several months. You know, the Navi tells us that when Mashiach comes, Hashem's presence is going to be so clear that the entire world is going to be at peace. No more war, no hatred, no evil. Could you imagine a world where people just care about each other? You know, the Pasuk in Tehillim tells us something unbelievable. Yefei nof misos kol haaretz. As the ultimate joy of the entire world. What does that mean? And the Medrash explains the following. That when the Beis HaMikdash was around, nobody felt any tsar. All the pain in people's lives just disappeared. Why? Because when people would come to the Beis HaMikdash, somebody did a sin and they had to get a kapara. There was no simcha greater than this. Because they felt this clear and close connection with Hashem. So close that everything else going on in life just fell to the wayside. You know, can you imagine? There's an individual walking in the street and he trips and he hurts his leg really badly. And he's in pain. And shortly after, he gets a phone call. And he hears, I have great news. You just won the $100 million lottery. What a great day. This is unbelievable. I just won $100 million. Somehow, he doesn't feel that pain in his leg anymore. Everything else fell to the wayside because of the joy of winning that lottery. That's what Klal Yisrael felt during the times of the Beis HaMikdash. Such holiness, such connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That feeling made everybody so molei simcha, so filled with joy, that every issue in their life just fell to the wayside. They didn't have to worry about COVID. They didn't have to worry about the financial stress, because it didn't bother them. Because of the simcha and the closeness that they felt with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And yet, we lost all of that. We lost all of that due to our actions. Klal Yisrael during that time was violating so many averos. Avodah Zarah, Shvichas Damim, Gili Arayos. And they fell so low. And that's why the Beis HaMikdash had to be destroyed. And it's been so many years. Is there any hope for us to really get it back? Well, we haven't gotten it back till now. Is there any chance that somehow we could get back to that state that we once were in, of total joy and total connection with Hashem? And there's a beautiful medrash that gives us such unbelievable hope. Yirmiyahu was sent out of Yerushalayim on a journey by Hashem. Hashem didn't want him to witness the Churban, to witness the destruction. And then when Yirmiyahu was coming back to Yerushalayim, he sees this smoke coming from the Beis HaMikdash. And he looks at that smoke, and Yirmiyah thinks to himself, he says, maybe the Jewish people did tshuva. And that is the smoke of the karbanos. And then he got closer, and he saw that it wasn't the smoke of the karbanos, but rather it was the smoke of the churban, the smoke of the destruction. And I ask you a question. What was Yirmiyah thinking? Was he delusional? Was he just trying to be overly optimistic? Yirmiyah was the prophet that gave everybody tochacha. He was the one who tried to get Klal Yisrael to do tshuva. He kept telling them over and over and over again, stop living the lives that you're living and come back to Hashem. Yet they didn't listen. Time and time and time again. Yirmiyah is the author of Eicha. Yirmiyah knew full well everything that was going to happen. Hashem told it to him. He knew there was going to be a destruction. So what was he thinking? When you see that smoke, Yirmiyah, isn't it obvious? This is it. Hashem said there's going to be a destruction because of their actions. The Jewish people didn't come back. They didn't do tshuva. This is it. This is the smoke of the destruction. What was Yirmiyah thinking? And a close friend of mine shared with me his thought that I thought was so unbelievable. You know what Yirmiyah was thinking? Yirmiyah understood full well the power, the koach, the strength of Klal Yisrael. He understood full well that no matter how low we sink, no matter how far down we've gone, no matter how many averos we've committed, Klal Yisrael always has the ability to do tshuva. And it's always there. It's always on the forefront. Even these people during that time have the ability to come back. So much so that Yirmiyah's initial thought when he saw that smoke was, you know what it probably is? They probably did tshuva. And that's probably the smoke emanating from the karbanos. Because now we have the Beis HaMikdash back. That's the power of Klal Yisrael. And as we're about to sit here on another Tisha B'Av, and we're going to read Eicha Yashba Badad, that the city of Yerushalayim sits in solitude. Ha'ir Abasi Am, a city that was filled with people once. Haisa Ke'almana is now like a widow. Because we don't have the Beis HaMikdash. And we don't have that connection with Hashem. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to recognize that loss. Yet at the same time, as we read through Eicha, and as we read through Kinos tomorrow, we must always remember the power that exists within each and every single one of us to come back to Hashem, to reach even higher levels of closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And even though we may not have the Beis HaMikdash right now, Yirmiyah was showing us that we have the power to reconnect with Hashem, to come even closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Be'ezras Hashem, through that growth, this will be the final year. This will be the last time that we're sitting here on this floor. Whether we're here in the shul, or whether we're sitting on the floor at home, mourning the loss of the Beis HaMikdash. Because Be'ezras Hashem, through our growth and through our actions, we will bring back the Beis HaMikdash b'mehera b'yameinu.
Eicha Rabati Magoi Sarati Mamadino Ayeta Ama Bako Tikavala Vidimata Lakayam Namenachem Loven Korea Vagiva Ayula Levi Galita Yuda, Meloni Miro Vavoda, Iachavagoi, Lomatia Manova, Colo de Fegisigua, Ben Sani, Sarfeitio Navero, mi believe Noel, Oshare Shomini, Nenafi. Anugo, Harla, Ayutale, Adroshi, Shalo, Yanayoga, Yeshae, Ola, Kushivi, Lifnate, Vaitim Bation, Goladora, Ayusala, Kayolim, Matumire. זכרה ירושלים, ימי ילדותה, כל החמודה אשר היו מקיים, בנפול המביצה, ואין עוזר לה, ראו הצרים, צחקו משפטם. Eicha Yerushalayim, Aken Hayat, Koma Kabadea Yidoa, Hiro Ulvata, Aminen Ha, Vatashabacho, Timata Vishulam, Lo Zakira Harika, Batire Kilayim, Hemna. Adonai Adoni, Idi, Oye, Yado Parasta, Alko Mahadem, Kirata Goyim, Baumitasha, Asher Tivita, Yehovah Kal, Kolamon Anafim, Bevakeshim Achem. Natinu Mahamadayan, Beokala Shinafish, Readanaya Vika, Kiaiti, Ole, Lolechem, Oloveridere, Abitulu, Kimesh Makotrakovi, Asher, Rali, Asher Ogadonai, Beyo. ממרום של האיש בעצמותיי, הירדנה פרס, פרשת רגליי, השיבני יכול, ונתנני שוממה, יום דב. נזכר עוד בשי בידו, הסתרגו, עלו הצווארי, הכשיר כמוכי. Nitanani Adonai, Videi, Falku, Hilachol Avirai, Adonai Vekirvi, Kalala, Moed, Ishbor Vakurai, Katarach Adonai, Livtula, Yehuda, Aleil, Alivochiyah, Idini Yorinamai, Kirachatimani, Emeshiv Nafshi, Ayuvan Aishomini, Igavar, Oye, Peresat Yon Megadam, Menachem La, Siva Adonai, ויעקב סביבה צרה, הייתה ירושלים, ונידה בעיניהם. צדיקו אדוני כפי ומריתי, כמונח עולמי, ורום החובי, ותמותי ואחורי, השם. קראתי לאהבי מרימוני, כהני וזקני, דבר, כי ביקשו חלמו, וישיבו נפשם. לאדוני תצר לי, מאי חומר מרי, נפח ליבי וקרבי, מרום הרי, מחוצי כאחרת, בבית המם. שמעו כי נכון, אין מנחם לי, כל אליי, שמעו לה תששו, כי אתה עשית. הבאת יום קראת, והגיעו המון. תבוא חזרתם לפניך, ועול עולמו, כאשר הודעת לי על כל פשעי, כי רבות הנחותי, ואין דבר.
Eicha Yoiv Apo Adonai Yesfa Sion Hishlich Mishamayim Eretz Tiferes Yisroel V'lo zachar Adam raglo v'yom apo Ila Adonai v'lo choma Es kol nos Yaakov horas v'broso Yifserei bas Yehuda, Higia lo Oretz, Chilal mamlacha besoreha, Kodav achariya, Kol keren Yisrael, Heishiva chor, Yemina mipnei oyev, Vayivar v'Yaakov ke'esh lehava, Achla sahaviv, Torach kasha koyeh. Yisab Yemina Katsar, Vayarog, Kol Machamadeo, Kol Machamadeo, Bohel Basion, Shapach Koesh Hamaso, Ayo Adonai Koye Bila Yisrael, Bila Kol Amenoseha, Shiches Miksarov, Vayereb Bas Yehuda, Tania Bania Vayachmos Kagan Suko Chiches Moado Shikach Adonai B'Tzion Moed B'Shavos Vayinatz Bezam Yapo Melech B'Chohein Zonach Adonai Mispacho Nier Mitosho Iskir Biado Yev Chomos Armenoseho Kol nosnu beveis Adonai keyom moed. Choshav Adonai lahashchis chomas v'sion. Noto kov lo heshiv yodo mibaleya. Vayavel chel v'chomo yachtovum lolu. Tovu b'oretz she'oreha ibad shiba bericheha. Makov v'sorel bagoyim ein Torah gam nevieha l'matzu chazon me'Adonai yeshu la'aretz yidamu ziknei basion elu afar arosham chagru sahakim horidu la'aretz roshon Besulos Yerushalayim Kalu Vadamos Einai Chomar Merumei Yishpach Loretz Kavedi Al Sheber Basami Beyote Palel Beyone Birchavos Kiryom Limos Pam Yomru Aye Dogon Boyoyin He sat upon Kecholor Bechovos Seir, Ishtapech nafsham el chek imosam muadidech muadamerelo Abbas Yerushalayim Moashvelach va'anachamech Besulas Basion Kigodol Kayom Shifrech Miyepala Neviai Chazulach Shabbos Blogi Louis Avonech Lahashiv Shashish Tutech Vechazulach Masal Shavu Maduchim Safku Alayich Kapayim Kolovrei Derech Shirku Vayani Rosham Albas Yerushalayim Hazosoir Shiamru Kalilas Yafi Masos L'chol Haaretz Patsu Alayich B'hem Koloi Vayich Shirku Vayachatu Shein Amru Ba'ilanu Ach Zehayom Shekivinu Matsanu Ra'inu Asa Adonai Asher Zama Bitza Emrato Asher Tziva Mimei Kedem Horas V'lo Aisamach Olayich Oyev Hekrim Keren Toroich Tzak Libam El Adonai Chomas Vasiyon Oridig Hanachal Dima Yomon Volayla Al Titani Fugas Loch Al Tidam Baseinech Kumironi Balayla Lerosh Hashmurot Shivchi Chamayim Libech Nochach B'nei Adonai Seyi Elokapayich Al Nefesh Ololayich Hatufim Bara Barosh Kol Chutzos Rei Adonai Behabita Lemi Olatoko Im Tochal Nonoshim Piryom Olalei Tipochim Asher Yeharei B'mikdash Adonai Kohen Benavi Shachlu La'aretz Chutzos Nar V'zokein V'shulosayu Bachurai Naflu B'chorev Horakta B'yom Apecha Tovach Tova Lochamota Tikra Chiyom Moed Megurai Misaviv V'lo Haya B'yom Adonai Pali B'sari Artipach Asher Tipachli V'ribi Siyoi B'chilam.
What? Does she want me to do it? Ani hageber roni b'shevet Ebrus Ila b'sari b'yari shiba ratzmoso Wanalai Ayakach Loshusla Omachastakim Hoshivani Kimei Olam Gadar Badi Loete Kichbid Nechoshti Gam Ki Ezag Vashaveya Sosam Tifilosi Gadar ועדי לא יצא חושתי גם כי אזעק ואשבע שם תפילתי קדר דרכי בגזיס נסיבותיי איבו דוב עורף הוא לי ארי במסתרי דרכי שורר ויפשחני שמני שומר דרך קשתו ויציבני כמה תורה לחץ הביא בחיל יוסוי בני אשפסו היסי שחוק לכל עמי נגינה שם כל היום הסביעני במרורים הרפני לנו ויגרס בחצו שינוי הכפישני או אפר ותזנח משלום נפשי נסיסי טובה ואומר עבד נצחי ושוחלתי מאדוני זכרני ומרודי ענו בראש זכר תזכור וששוח עלי נפשי זוס אשיב אל ליבי על כן אוחיל חסדי אדוני כי לא שמנו כי לא חלו רחמות חדשים לבקרים רבו אמונתך חלקי אדוני אמרה נפשי אינו סלע טוב אדוני בנפש תתבשנו טוב יאכיל בטובם לישועה אדוני ישכין אתה לא ייתן באפור פיהו אולי יש תקווה ייתן למכהו לכי יספור בחרפו כי לא Adonai, lo ra, Adonai, elyon, lo setei, aros v'atov, ma'isoned, adam chai, gever al chatov, nachbishad rachenu, v'nachtorah, Adonai, Yisrael levaveinu hapoyim el atah lo stolachta sakorata You're not the Kerev Hamisha Hashem Spashaver Eni Al Sheber Asami. We're going to start from Gimel again because there were definitely some audio problems.
גילה בשרי ואורי שיבה בעצמותה בנה עליי ויקף ושותנה אם הושיבני כמצי עולם גדר בעדי ולא אצא לכתי וחושתי גם כי אזעק ואשבח סתם תפילתי גדר דרכי בגזית נתיבותיי איבה דור עורב הוא לי ארי במסתרי דרכי סורר ויפה שכני שמני שומר דרך קשו ויציבני כמטרה לחץ הביא בחיותיי בני השפטו הייתי שחוק לכל עמי נגינתם כל היום השביעני במרומים הרבני לענף ויגרס בחצץ שיניי הכפישני באפר ותזנח משלום נפשי טובה ואומר עבד נצחי ותאכלתי מאדוני זכרוני ומרודי לענף הראש זכור תזכור ותשוח חיי נפשי זאת אשיב ליבי על כנוכי חסדי אדוני כי לא תמדו כי לא חלו רחמיו חדשים לבקרים רבה אמונתך חלקי אדוני אמרה נפשי על כן אוכלי לו טוב אדוני לקרוביו לנפש תדרשנו טוב יכיל ודומם לתשועת אדוני טוב לגבר כיסאו לבנוריו ישב בדד וידום כי נטל עליו ייתן בעפר פיהו אולי יש תקווה ייתן למכהו לכי יישא בחרפה כי לא יזנח לעולם אדוני כי אם הוגה וריחם קרוב חסדיו כי לא עינה מליבו ויגע בני איש לדכא תחת רגליו כל אסירי הארץ להטות משפט גבר נגד עליון לעבד אדם בריבו אדוני לא ראה מי זה אמר ותהי אדוני לא ציווה מפי עליון לא תצא הרעות והטוב מה יתאונן אדם חי גבר על חטאיו נחפשה דרכנו ונחקורה ונשובה עד אדוני נישא לבבינו אל כפיים אל בשמיים אנחנו פשענו ומרינו אתה לא סלחת צעקות ואהבה תרדפנו הרגת לא חמדת צעקות ועננך מאבות תפילה צחי ומעוז, וסימן בקרב העמים, פרצו עלינו פיהם כל אויבינו, פחד ופחד היה לנו השד והשבר. הרגי מים תרד עיני על שבר בדמי, עיני נגרה ולא תדמם מן הפוגות. עד ישקיף וירא אדוני משמיים, עיני עוללה לנפשי מכל בנות עירי. סוד צדוני כציפור אויבי חינם, צמתו בבוא חיי וידעו אבן בי. צפו מים על ראשי אמרתי נגזרתי, קראתי שמך אדוני מבור תחתיות. קולי שמעת אל תעלם אוזנך, לרווחתי ושבתי. קרבת ביום אקראך, אמרת אל תירא. רבת אדוני ריבי נפשי גאת חיי. ראית אדוני עבדתי, שופט משפטי. ראית כל נקמתם, כל מחשבותם לי. שמעת חרפתם אדוני, כל מחשבותם עלי. צוותי קמי והגונם עלי כל היום. שבטם וקימתם הביטה, אני מנגינתם. תשיב להם גמול אדוני כמעשה ידיהם. תיתן להם מגינת לב, תעלתך להם. תרדוף באף ותשמידם מתחת שמי אדוני.
איכה יום זוהר, ישנה הכסף הטוב, תפתחנה עבדי קודש בראש כל חוצות, בני ציון היקרים המסולאים באהבה. איכה נפלו לבני חרש מעשה ידי יוצר, גם תנים חלצו שנות, אין יתקו גורן, פסמי לחזור כימים במדבר. דבר לשון יונק אל חיתו עצמו, עולים ושאלו לכם קורש להם. אוכלים למדדים, נשמו בחוצות, עמודים עלי כולו, יפקו השפטות. וידע לבון בסמי, יחטס סדום. הלכו כמו רגב, ולא בה ידיים. זכו נזירי המשתלק, צפו מחלה. עדו עצם מפנינים, ספיר יתרסם. חשב משחר תורם, לא דיברו בחוצות. תמד אורם על עצמם, יבש ויבש. טובים היו חללי חרב, מחללי רב, שהם יעזבו מדוכרים בתנובות שצעדי ידי. נשים רחמניות בישלו ילדיהם, היו לברוס לנו ושבר בסמי. גילה דינויס חמסו שטפה רונה בו, ויצא זה שפיציון ותאכל יסודו זהו. לא האמינו אף הארץ כל יושבי תבל, כי יבוא צר ואויב וישתרק ושלום. מחטות נביאיה, עוונות בניה, השופטים בקרבה, גם צדיקים. נו אבירים בחוצות, יגלו בהדרה, ולא יוכלו יגעו ראשיהם. צורו טמא קראו לה, זורו עתינו, ינצו דהנו. רוב הגויים לא יוסיפו להגור. בני אדוני נלחם, לא יוסיף הביתם. בני כהנים לא נשאו, וזקנים לא חננו. עודנו תכלנו עינינו, אל עזרתנו, הצביענו ציפינו, אל די, לא יושיע. צדו צעדינו, מלאכת רחובותינו, Rakitzeinu, Maloyemeinu, Vakitzeinu, Kalim Hayu Reifeinu, Minishrei Shamati, El Harim Dilakunu, Bamidbar Abulanu, Ruachapenu Shahadina, Yilka Vishnu Sosa, Asheru, Bitsilo, Nifye, Anoye, Siti Visimchi Vasadon, Yosheb, Yerezu, Amalayim Tower Coast, Yiskari, Sorry. Tasavne Fatsion, Lo Yossi, Flavose, Pakada Abone, Vasadon, Gila, Alpatosaye. Zachara Neva Hayolando, Habi Ture, Starkoseno, Naflaseno, Naflasarim, Bateno, Lanfarim, Lindafarim. Yisomim Hayino Vieno, Imoseno, Kalmanos. Nemeno Bekasa Shosino, Eiteno, Gabo. Al Tavareno near Dafno, Yagano, Blow, Naflano. Ephraim Nasnigad, Ashur, Listoala. I was saying, Fatu Vena, Vanafno, Abana say, Hammond Sabano, Abadim Mashlavano, Tore, in Biada. Benachena Nabila Faino, Mikne, Ara Kamikar, Oreno Kitanor Nifmaro, Mikne, Zalafosra, Nashim Vitzianino, Visula, Yare Yehuda, Sarim Yadam Miklo, Nes Kane, Bonahadaru, Bakurim Takon Naso, Unarim, Pashalos, Inim Shar Shabatu, Vaporim, Minikinosa. Shabbat Misos Liveno, Nefakliye, Valvin Nafla Teres Resheno, Onalanu, Kitashano, Alze, Hayada Veliveno, Alela Hashweno, Al Harzion Sheshamay, Shualim, Okuba, Ata Adenoila Lamteshe, Isaka, Ledorgodar, Lamalanetzak Tishvacheno, Tazveno, Liarak Yamin. Ashivenu Adonai Lecha ben Ashuva, Kadesh Yameinu Ekedem, Kim Ha'az Me'astanu, Kasav Aleinu Admiyod.
Shivenu Adonai Lecha ben Ashuva, Kadesh Yameinu Ekedem.
Ashivenu Adonai Lecha ben Ashuva, Kadesh Yameinu Ekedem.
Always a daunting task and opportunity, trying to evoke emotion. Tishabov after Tishabov after Tishabov. Very often, driving around neighborhood, different cities in the United States, maybe in the world, and all very often cross train tracks. We have train tracks going into Hollywood, crossing Biscayne Boulevard. Sometimes you'll be driving, and all of a sudden, you'll see the lights flashing, and the train guard will come down, and you'll be parked there. Different thoughts can go through your head. I'm still late. My kids are in the back, making noise. Check to make sure I'm not going to be late for work. Depending on what type of train it is, it might take a few minutes, it might take a few seconds. A few days ago, I got stopped at a train track. My kids were in the car, and to keep it entertaining, we realized it was a big train. We started counting. Based on the time from when we started, it seemed like maybe we got up to 150 to 200 cars in this train. It was a very long train. And in my heart at that moment, I started thinking that during the war in Europe, there were countless Jews packed into cars. So I went home and I searched how many people did they try to pack in. So the numbers were ranged from 50 to 250. So let's assume there were 150 cars in that train. That's 15,000 people perhaps. Why am I sitting at a train track and this pain, this subtle pain is running through me? This pain, this thigh, runs through all of our veins from countless and countless sorrows throughout history. And the question is such a mundane thing of stopping at a train track, is that the pain of Gullus? Is the pain of different events? Is that the pain in our history? Is that the pain of Gullus? Rav Gifter explains to the Gemara and also a Medrash and Sanhedrin, the Gemara and Sanhedrin and Medrash and Eicha. The story goes like this. There was a woman who was a neighbor of Rabbi Gamliel, and her son passed away. And she used to cry at night. And with that crying, Rabbi Gamliel heard her crying, and he began to cry. And he cried so much that his eyelashes used to fall out in the morning. And he kept crying and crying. The Medrash specifically says that he was crying for the Korban. And Rav Gifter explains that what was he crying about the Korban? He was crying about the Korban because he sensed that in this mother's cries, in the pain of her losing a child, that pain emanated from the Korban. The pain that she was feeling rocked Rabbi Gamliel, and his emotion was ignited back to the Korban because this pain of this mother was the Korban, is the pain of the Korban. And he cried and cried and cried. Rav Gifter explains that the underlying pain and suffering throughout our years comes from the Korban. It stems from the Korban. When we cry out in pain and in sorrow for different sorrows that are going on, anti-Semitism, hurricanes, somebody has difficulty with childbearing, difficult marriage situation, unexpected cancer, a tough time raising children, are lots of difficulties. The list can go on, and we all know this stems from the Gullus. If Rabbi Gamliel would hear us crying, he would be crying about the Gullus because he would sense the pain of the Gullus in our cries. The question is, how do we tonight and tomorrow and every day channel this pain to hopefully bring the Geulah? We daven and say that Baruch Hu, can you please bring the Geulah? And I think something we have to think about is, do we stop and say, I am ready for Mashiach? You know, sometimes that's a hard thing to think about, wrap your head around, and ready for Mashiach. Just to give a little explanation of what that might feel like is, I remember packing up for Hurricane Irma. You look around, this guy's packing up, this guy's packing up, he's leaving, he's leaving. You load your car up, you don't know what you should take, what you shouldn't take. And when you turn around and you look at your house, you say, am I going to come back to my house? Am I really leaving this all behind? And maybe that's tough for us to say we're ready for Mashiach. But a few months ago, I remember after hearing about the passing of the Novominsker, a great Gadol Yisrael, a true loss, I was standing socially distant, very socially distant from Chaverim, and we were talking and we said, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready for Mashiach. The news was spreading, the pain was there. We were ready for Mashiach. A few months later, we're a little bit more used to it. But I really believe that if we stop and think, we will say to each other and to ourselves, we are ready. The pain is there, the understanding is there, we understand we are ready. Now, how do we channel it? if we're ready, how do we channel our tefillos, our tshuva? How do we get there? The Dubna Maggid lived 200 years ago, around the time of the Gra. He explains that we were redeemed from Mitzrayim. The Geula from Mitzrayim was because of the fact that our tefillah was directed specifically for the Geula. They specifically wanted to be in Eretz Yisrael. That was what they were crying out for. Hashem, we want to be close to you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we want you. That was what they were crying out. And because of that, they were redeemed. When we daven today, when we daven every day, what are we davening for? What are we saying? When the pain of coronavirus and the pain of our physical and emotional challenges come crashing down, are we davening for the Geula, or are we davening for our pain to stop? Are we focusing on the Geula? At the Pesach Seder, many of us sat alone in different situations, very different than normal. It was not normal. We weren't necessarily sitting with our families, extended families, some of us alone, some of us singularly alone, not just our immediate family. Very different. Sad, maybe some a little bit happy, some sad, challenging, confusing. But the bottom line is, towards the end of the Seder, when the time came for Shvoch HaMaskah, when we recognize the tsar of the Gullus, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring the Ula Shvoch HaMaskah, and then Nirza starts and we scream out L'shon Haba. Were we there with tears and emotion? Or was it the same as every other year? I venture to say that that emotion was different for everyone. That L'shon Haba this year was a different L'shon Haba. We need to channel that pain. We need to channel that idea, that focus, and say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're ready for Geula. The news of a vaccine, a passive vaccine, an antibody, 3 months, a year, we have no idea exactly what's going on. But do we ask Hashem for a vaccine? Do we ask Hashem for normal lives, or do we ask for a vaccine and Mashiach? Do we ask for our normal lives and please Hashem for Mashiach? We need to focus our tefillos and our tshuva on the pain of the Gullus by channeling our current pain. If we focus on the Geula, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will answer our tefillos for the Geula of Mary. Many people have challenges. Many people, varying degrees. We don't need to look too far. We don't need to look around. If we use these challenges to daven for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to remove them and remove their source. Rabbi said the source is the fact that we do not have Mashiach, or we do not have the Shekhinah with us. That is the source. Let us daven for the Band-Aid to be there, the vaccine, and let us daven for the source to be removed, the Gullus to be removed, and the Geula to come and here in the name.
Amen.
Kadosh, 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 and that's what's more for us. Kadosh. Baruch Adonai Elohim Gumah.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming both personally and then virtually. And a big yashar to Jack White and to Brian Goldberg for setting this up, setting the program up and setting up the Zoom and the live stream.
Quick announcement, if anyone's using one of these Sfarim and you're coming tomorrow, please leave it with you in your seat and you can use the same book tomorrow. If you're going to be at the 6:15 minion, we're going to be in the social hall, so we'll open that room up now so you can put one of the books by your seat in the social hall. 1 second.